Hi, this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Rippah Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart, episode by episode, the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast. There are definitely spoilers ahead.
This week, we're talking about Season 1, Episode 20, Blood Brothers. This episode is primarily a flashback episode. While Stefan kind of dries out, he has flashbacks to 1864 when he and Damon turned into vampires and how they became vampires. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it for this episode. A few other Anna, Jeremy things, but...
Yeah, that's the massive piece of it.
Yeah.
It's the third flashback episode, and this is the one where it feels like we're actually starting to, like, get some information.
Yeah.
You get information in all of them, at least some, but this is the one where you're like, okay, things are making more sense.
Yeah, you're figuring out the dynamic between Damon and Stefan at least.
Totally, yeah. And with, like, their vampirism, too. Like,
yes.
how they felt about it, at the start at least.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, of course, Stefan is drying out. We saw in the last episode, at the very end, he got put in the cellar in the Salvatore basement. So that's where he is. And that, of course, leads to our blur between memories and reality, and is what, like, throws us into the flashbacks as Stefan's sort of grogginess is bringing back 1864 and mashing it with the present.
Yeah, the scenes are really paralleling. At first, it's just sort of Stefan remembering when he and Damon were watching Catherine getting taken away, but they start making the scenes pretty much parallel. So it's you can see why Stefan is sort of fading in between present and past.
Yeah, it's confusing. I mean, the whole doppelganger thing alone makes
confusing
everyone who gets like werewolf venom or drying out or whatever, it makes things really blur.
Yes.
And it does here for Stefan because he's remembering, like you said, when they were trying to get Catherine out of, she'd been captured by the townspeople, and they're trying to get her out of the carriage that she's like locked in.
And they're both sort of behind bars. Elena is on the other side of the door. Yeah. But Catherine's behind the bars in the carriage. And it's both fading.
Looking at him.
Fading back and forth.
Yeah, it's easily clear why he got so confused.
Yes.
So she gets dragged in her little prison, and Damon leads her out, and then Elena and Damon are clearly watching Stefan. Yes. They've been keeping an eye on him, and Elena's trying to get Damon to admit that he cares about Stefan. You know, I feel like that's a theme that kind of keeps coming up in their scenes throughout this episode, and she starts it right in that first one about trying to get him to admit that he's doing this because he wants to help Stefan, not just to help Elena. Yeah. And you kind of see... I don't know. He's trying to be like, oh, well, like, this is your thing. Like, you're the helper. Yeah,
he's basically like, you're the one who cares.
Yeah, but she's like, no. Back to 1864. Stefan is waking up in transition. Yeah. You know, we saw they got shot. He wakes up. He's in transition. And he already has a daylight ring on. Literally wakes up in transition with it on, which is a rarity. Most
really luck's out there.
Most people don't have that that luck, I suppose, or that foresight. Yeah. Which, again, says everything you need to know, because Catherine says that Emily says that Catherine had her make that ring weeks ago. Yes. Which, again, we already knew, but obviously indicates how... like, intentionally, Catherine was planning this, that the brothers would both become vampires, like, with her.
Yeah, I always think about it in this flashback. You just see how, not only was Catherine planning for it, I mean, she did have Emily make the daylight ring. She had been feeding Damon and Stefan blood for weeks. But, I mean, we also saw in previous flashbacks that she knew she might get captured and that this could happen. Yeah. And somehow they could die trying to help her. So, I don't know. I'm like... I do really think she was just trying to test this as far as she could go. She did not really care if she got captured. She knew she was never going to get put away, which I think we see in a future flashback. Flashback, but
Catherine always has a plan, and part of that plan is Stefan and Damon to be with her forever.
Yes.
And that's sort of what Emily tells Stefan in this moment too, because he's so shocked that he's in transition. He's like, I've never drank vampire blood. And she's like, yeah, she's been compelling you for weeks to drink her blood. And he asks about Damon, and she's like, oh, well, Damon drank willingly. No compulsion was necessary. Which, love that Emily just knows all of this. Like, was Catherine just telling her all of it?
She definitely was.
Yeah.
Just girls being girls, chatting about how you're going to be with your boyfriends forever.
Yeah. Except one of the girls hates. The other one is like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so we then find out too that Damon also woke up a long time before Stefan. He says he woke up like in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And that he went out into the forest and found the church and watched it burn down.
Yes.
Whereas Stefan's just waking up in the morning now. So I find it interesting that Damon woke up so much faster. I wonder why.
Well, we see on screen Damon dies pretty instantly.
Yeah, he did look dead like instantly.
He looked like he basically died immediately. And
Yeah.
Stefan was watching Catherine get dragged away in the carriage, looking at Damon for a little while. Stefan might have lived for like a couple more hours.
That could be, and then that caused the difference.
Yeah.
And who knows, I was wondering too if there might have been a difference in like the amount of blood in there. Like we don't know enough about like what makes it happen faster. But yeah, I did think that too, that Damon did seem to die faster.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why he woke up like so significantly sooner.
Yeah.
So of course Damon's just devastated. He's looking off into the lake looking like a sad boy.
This is a really sad episode for Damon.
Lots of them in season 1, but
yeah, lots of sad episodes for Damon in season 1. But this one, I really think like, well, again, they're pretty much human during this episode, so you really do see who Damon was before, and why he's become who he is as a vampire.
Totally.
It's really game changing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's like seeing him in transition and still being the way he was when he was a human. It's like so sad for him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we go to modern Damon and Elena, who are just speculating about the Gilbert device and trying to figure out what's kind of going on with John. And then also that Elena has been spending a lot of time at the Salvatore house. Her and Damon in that moment sort of talk about how, like, you know, she's always there.
Yeah.
She's a burden or whatever.
Yeah, and she's staying there. It seems like to avoid John for obvious reasons.
Yeah, that adds up. And she doesn't even know yet that he's...
She doesn't even know how bad it is.
Yeah. But clearly her and Damon have really bonded at this time.
Yeah.
Which I find very interesting.
I do too. There's a later scene where I'll talk about it more.
Yes, I was going to say
Okay.
this.
I'm sure we're thinking the same things.
Yeah, we're going to come back around to that. But for now, then we get our first scene with Anna and Jeremy. Jeremy's at high school, and Anna stops by to tell him that she's going to start going to school, and it's basically just to hang out with him.
Yeah, which is wild. I mean, we know Stefan does that for Elena.
Did that for Elena.
And Anna's doing it for Jeremy, but I have never and probably will never love anyone that much. There's just absolutely no chance I'm going back to high school.
No, I was thinking about it in the scene. I was like, if I were a vampire, frozen at like 18, 17, whatever, I actually think I would go to high school.
No.
Only because as a vampire...
you can compel people.
Exactly. Right now, even as an adult woman, you could not pay me to go back to high school.
No.
Absolutely not. But as like a 17-year-old vampire who's probably like 100 years old,
I
would go back in a second. I'd be compelling people to like make me the prom queen just so I can piss people off and like just like constantly showing up and like winning sports just to really like shake up the dynamics of high school.
That's true. That could be fun.
So funny.
It would be a little fun.
I don't think I'd be pulling a Cullen and being like in high school for
I'm always
decades.
going to high school. Yeah.
Probably more of a Stefan where it's like, I'm just gonna pop in because there's something interesting
Yeah.
here.
I'm here for a week, then I'm gone for months.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not trying to be the graduation cap wall in the Twilight movies. No. But I think it could be interesting. Why not?
Yeah.
Infinity gets so boring.
I think I'd probably do like, freshman year of college, but high school dynamics are way more fun to shake up. So I guess that's true.
Yeah, there's so much more extra. I mean, at least my college, I didn't have any extracurriculars, so high school would be more interesting for me. But
yeah, that's true. It could be fun, but
yeah, it's funny that she does want to go just for him.
Yeah.
And so then we also see Damon, and he gives Stefan the bottle of blood, which he doesn't say that it's maybe he does say it's animal blood.
He says it's Stefan diet approved, so I assume it's animal blood.
I was thinking that. I like missed it for a second, and then I was like, this is definitely not human blood.
Yeah, I think it's animal blood.
Okay, good.
But yeah, Stefan is refusing to drink because he's going through all of this. He's having flashbacks. Obviously, a very emotional time.
Yeah, and he's punishing himself.
He's punishing himself, and of course, him not eating is making it a lot worse. I'm terrible when I don't eat. I'm sure it's much worse when he doesn't eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stefan is refusing the blood, so
yeah,
Damon gives up and goes and talks to his buddy Alaric, who just calls him, and he has to tell him who it is, because I guess they've never talked on the phone before.
Yeah, I love that. Alaric calls, Damon answers, and he's like, how'd you get this number? And it has to be Elena. I know that Elena passed that number along.
No, it definitely was.
But I want to know, did Elena be like, Alaric, I think you need this? Because she noticed that they were going to be buddies.
Yeah.
Or is it Alaric asked for it? I don't know. I think it's funny.
It is funny. No, I think he sort of insinuates he asked for it because they have mutual interests.
Exactly.
But I like to believe Elena was just like,
Yeah.
You might want this.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alaric calls up Damon to talk about John Gilbert and how he's investigating him. And he found Isabel's old phone number that Elena had called, which also makes me think it was Elena that gave Alaric Damon's number, because how would he also know that?
Yeah, Elena definitely was info sharing with him.
Yeah, for sure. And they have a nice little exchange here where, you know, before they get into all of the John stuff, Damon's like, you tried to kill me. And Alaric says, you did kill me.
Yeah, you did kill me. Like,
you did kill me.
It's pretty good.
And then they're like, it's all forgotten.
Yeah.
Just that little exchange. They move on.
This is like, you know, we talked about it already, that the buddy, you know, they were established and let the right one in. But this is the one where it's like they're embracing it now.
Yeah.
Now they know. They're really buddies.
Yeah.
It only escalates further as the episode goes. But then basically they've agreed that Alaric has this information that he thinks will lead to Isabel. Or, you know, he doesn't really know, but he wants to look into it. Damon's like, give me the address. And Alaric's like, you're not going without me. Like, I'm going to.
Yes.
So they're going to basically buddy cop and go check this out together, which...
I do. I know. I love this conversation. I know. I love this little pairing. I love all of it. I also love in the scene the sweater Damon is wearing.
Oh, I thought
he was wearing it before, but I also just noticed it in this scene, and I was like, it's a fun little sweater moment from Damon. I don't feel like he wears more than like his t-shirts and
I was gonna say he's always
maybe like a
in
button
a t-shirt, a leather jacket.
Yeah, but yeah, I noticed his sweater in this episode, and I just love it. It looks so good. It's so rare that we get a little Damon sweater moment.
I know, I thought that too. It looks really great on him, and it's so fun. It adds just a little bit of texture.
Yes. Also, I just love like when just the way it looks when he goes and sits on like the leather chair in the Salvatore house. Like it's the Salvatore house has such a like dark academia vibe anyway, and the sweater just like kicks it up a notch.
Yeah,
it's
whole
such a great
thing
scene.
is really well curated.
Yeah,
like,
it looks
all of it goes well together.
It looks so good, and I also just love the way it flows, because while Damon is on the phone with Alaric, Elena calls Damon, and he's like switching back and forth between the calls, and he just like sits down in the leather chair, and it's just a good Damon moment. Like, it looks really good. He's switching between the calls really smoothly.
Yeah, and
it's just good.
Love when he answers the Elena call. Like, he's on the phone with Alaric, Elena calls, and he just switches over and goes, what? And like makes it like the cutest little like it's like a flirty what. It's like, it's not just like a, you know, what do you want? It's like a cutesy little what.
Yes.
And they of course start talking about Stefan.
Yes, of course.
And you know, she's asking like, what's his favorite kind of blood? and Damon's like joking with her and like calling her out on it, and it's so flirty. Like, their vibes have completely changed since like the last episode. Yes,
they have a lot of great scenes in this episode. I mean, we've said this about the past few episodes, but Delena is really getting a lot of great scenes.
Yeah, every time Stefan falls off the wagon and goes on human blood, Stelena slips further apart and Delena slips closer together.
Yes.
And this was that first slip.
Yes.
Stelena is still strong for the most part. You know,
I mean, definitely. She's relentless.
She's obsessed with him. Yeah, they're still good.
Yeah.
But you can't deny that Damon has creeped in. I mean,
he absolutely has.
It's the way she talks about him when she does finally admit that they're in love. That she's like, you know, Damon is just this thing I can't ignore. Like, he just like creeped into my life, and I can't get rid of him. I can't shake him. And this is one of those episodes where you're like, yep, we see that happening, girl.
Yeah.
At this point, she could totally still shake Damon, and she's still gridlocked onto Stefan. But the slip has started.
It does kill me how really hung up on Stefan is, and some of her actions in this episode, I'm like, okay. Yeah. But yeah, she's really hooked on it. Even after Damon jokingly tells her that Stefan's animal blood of choice, is puppy blood, like little golden retriever blood.
Yeah. I love their little jokey energy on that call.
Yes, I do too.
But, you know, she basically says, I'm coming over. I'm gonna, you know, whatever.
And of course,
Elena gets off the phone and she's about to like leave, and John Gilbert, Uncle John, has to come in and talk to her and basically confronts her about hanging out with vampires, and like point blank says he knows that she knows.
Yeah.
And he uses her mother against her, which again confirmed Elena is a mother's girl.
Yeah, she definitely is.
She definitely had such a special relationship with her mom, and he tries to wield that. Like, what would your mother think of you dating a vampire? Like, he's so cruel for that.
Oh no, you really see how manipulative he is, and I really hate him in this moment. But our girl Elena, she
quick-witted.
She claps right back, and she's like, "Which one?"
Yeah, which mother?
And then leaves.
Yeah.
She just walks right out.
Yeah.
I love that for her.
I don't think he knew that she knew. I can't imagine Jenna or
No,
anyone
I don't
else
think
would
he did.
mention it to him because nobody likes him. So why would they be like, by the way?
Yeah, no, he would. Yeah, no, he wouldn't be in
Elena's
the loop.
adopted, because they also don't know that he has any reason to know that. You know?
Yeah. Also, I don't think they know that John is the father.
No.
Like, they haven't put that together.
No.
So, I don't think, like, that's another reveal where Elena does, I think, again, do, like, a little mic drop moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I feel like he has no idea.
Yeah. Like,
that she would even
care as
know.
my
Yeah.
father is what she says. Yes. I think the finale.
Yeah, I think it is.
So yeah, she does pretty good here, and he deserves that. Like,
yeah, he deserved
sucks.
worse.
He deserved worse, but he deserved at least that much because he sucks.
Yes.
Then we're taken back to 1864.
Of course.
And Stefan and Damon are basically talking about their transition. They're both in transition still. Nothing's happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Damon says he doesn't want to do it. He
Yeah.
just wants to die because he just wanted to be with Catherine, and without her, there's no point. But Stefan seems reluctant. And
Yeah.
he's not exactly giving, like, I am or I'm not going to transition. But, like,
Mm-hmm.
he definitely seems like, I don't want to die yet.
Yeah, he seems at least a little bit on the fence, but Damon is very clearly like there is no world without Catherine. I think
he's
pretty much
settled
what he says.
that he wants to die.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're in a pretty contentious sort of weird spot here. I don't think Stefan is accepting of that. Definitely not. Based on where
definitely
things go.
not. And in later scenes, again, the things Stefan says to Damon allude to the fact that he doesn't really want to die yet, and he doesn't want Damon to die yet.
Yeah, which is then contrasted by the modern Stefan, who
Yeah.
then immediately is saying that he does want to die.
Mm-hmm.
And Elena goes to see him to try to convince him to drink blood, but he's like refusing. Like,
Yes.
he's like, I want to die.
Yeah,
like, I don't want to be alive anymore.
Yeah, he literally says, I want it to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's all, don't say that.
Don't say that, yeah.
But like, he's not doing well. He's like miserable.
No, he's really not doing well. And then when Elena goes to tell Damon says he's just being dramatic.
Yeah, he's like, he's just being a martyr. And Elena's like, he's in a lot of pain. And he was like, well, that's why you should drink blood. She's like, I didn't mean physical.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yes, yeah, she insinuates he's in a lot of emotional pain, which is definitely very true.
Oh, 100%.
Like, he's really going through it.
Yeah, he's like borderline physical pain from how much emotional pain he's in. Like, it's really like, I mean, you can't blame him for like all of the grief and the, I don't know, like every emotion probably from the last 140 years are like piling
it's
on
probably
top of
flowing
each other
back.
right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's sober for what, 90 years, something like that, 80 years?
I think so, yeah.
70, something like that.
A long time.
This is like probably opening the floodgates of a lot of those things he's been ignoring.
Yeah.
Especially because this is the first time around Damon too, while that's happened.
Yeah, that's
as far
true.
as we know. So anyway, Elena again brings up clearly that Damon trusts Stefan, because Damon also, like, after they have this little tiff about it, says that he's gonna go with Alaric.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're kind of, again, beefing about Stefan in this situation. Yeah. Again, the martyr, is he in pain? And Elena says, you know, like, you do trust him because you wouldn't leave me alone with him if you didn't.
Yeah, which I think is such a great little moment for, again, Elena and Damon, even though they are sort of having this back and forth of she's trying to convince Damon that he cares, and Damon is trying to tell Elena he doesn't care. Elena sees Damon. Yes. She knows that he does care.
Yes. Yeah, and she calls him out, like, every single scene they have in this
every
episode
time
is about calling him out on the fact that he does care and he's not admitting to it.
Yes.
So Damon does leave. He leaves her alone. Meanwhile, Uncle John Gilbert always getting up to something, and this time he's meeting with Pearl at the grill, and they talk about the device. They talk about the apothecary because she's been trying to buy it. He's been the one trying to stop that, and he is such a snake. Ugh. Literally, he tries to flirt with her. He says he's going to use his Gilbert charm on her. So, like,
I gagged.
If you didn't already hate him, like, this episode,
you hate him now.
sealed the deal.
He's smarmy, slimy, disgusting. I hate him.
That's exactly the right word for John Gilbert. He's the worst.
Yes. No, he's just, ugh.
But it's interesting that they do this, and then they immediately go to Anna and Jeremy, because obviously daughter, nephew. There's parallels to be had here, but the others are so different. They're basically in the scene reiterating everything that's been going on.
Yeah.
Clearly, Jeremy is very much in the loop now. Like, he knows detail of everything. Anna's keeping him up to date on the current goings on with the device and everything.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Jeremy is being told about the invention by Anna. They're kind of talking about it, and the Jonathan Gilbert journals, all these things. Yeah, Jeremy fully knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. No one else but Anna knows that Jeremy knows everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're sharing secrets with each other, and their relationship is blossoming more.
Yes. I was gonna say, it's funny that, like, at the start of the scene, Jeremy just wants more info and Anna just wants to make out.
Yeah.
She's like, why are we talking about
She's
this?
like, no one cares about this invention, Jeremy.
Yeah, and she's like trying to move on to the make out part, and he's still asking questions.
Yep.
Eventually they get there, but it's just funny how she's like keeps having to push about it.
Yeah.
But Anna does say also in this conversation that Uncle John wants her and her mother dead, and she says he's a hater, Jeremy.
I know,
it's such a funny way to put it. It's accurate.
I know. He is a hater, but just the phrasing of that is funny.
Yeah.
He wants me dead. He's a hater.
I'm gonna start saying that about everybody. I'm gonna be like, he's a hater.
He wants me dead.
Yeah, exactly. The two go so hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where Anna and Jeremy are. Then they start making out.
Yep. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
And then we get to finally see Alaric and Damon showing up at the house. They don't really know what it is. They don't even know if they can get in. And they start talking actually about, like, getting invited in. So we get some more answers on that.
Yeah.
Because Alaric's kind of asking about, like, are you going to be able to get in?
Yeah.
And Damon says short-term rentals and hotels are a gray area. So maybe that's our answer on Logan. Maybe he had a short-term rental for some reason.
Yeah, maybe he did just have, like, I don't know. I mean, even any rental, I guess, could kind of be a gray area. And
Definitely
he was
is.
in an apartment.
But what's a short-term rental? Like a few weeks, a few months, a year? I don't know.
Short term could be anything to a vampire.
Exactly.
We'll never know.
A decade is kind of short term to, like, Klaus.
Like, yeah, that'd be extremely short term. So I don't know.
But I thought it was funny that he kind of mentioned that there's the gray areas where it's like you just play it by ear.
You just go for it.
You don't know. Luckily, they do get into that house, and that's because the vampire is the only one living there.
Yes.
And they reveal that it's Henry is his name. He attacks Alaric and Damon. Damon stops him, and then they recognize each other. Which also, do you remember Henry in the later season? He's in, like, season 8 or whatever. Like,
yes.
With the siren.
Yeah, no, I do remember this. I mean, they obviously, that was in season 8. They fill that in later. But such an interesting choice to make it this character that we do meet.
Yeah.
And we do see their dynamic. Like,
it could have been anybody. It could have been any random vampire, or not a vampire, but any random person.
Any of the two vampires. Yeah.
But that's the thing that's sort of weird is, like, you watch the scene and as a rewatch, it doesn't, I mean, it plays well in that you're like, oh, I recognize this guy, like, more so because of the, like, flashback episode. But then you're also like, but this doesn't really add up knowing, like, the trauma that we know they went through together.
Yeah.
Damon's not exactly giving that vibe of, like, oh, me and this guy have gone through some, like, shit together.
Yeah, no. And especially, well, I guess Damon isn't the one to kill him, but I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't seem all that heartbroken when they do end up having to kill him, and I don't know, it's just odd choice for them to have made.
It's nice to bring someone back like this to be like, again, a call out. It's like, oh, I remember this guy, but it is like, but the scene doesn't work when you have to remember that they knew each other in, like, a very deep way. I don't know, it's weird.
I know, I did think about that because I've only seen season 8 like a handful of times, like 2 or 3. Yeah. Compared to the number of times I've seen the rest of the show, that's not that many.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it more on this rewatch, and I agree. I don't think it plays quite as well. I'm not remembering it all that well, but it doesn't really.
He doesn't. I mean, he acts like, oh, I recognize you as being a tomb vampire, but he doesn't, like, recognize him as, like,
that no more.
We were in the war together, like,
and went through things.
Something.
Yeah.
No, it's more just like, you're a guy, I remember. You were around.
Yeah, I think it's a little too casual. They probably should have just gone with someone that we didn't know in season 8. But
yeah, I think so. It is nice, though, that you're like, Henry, I remember this guy.
Yeah, it is fun to recognize the face, but
fun part.
They didn't anticipate the person rewatching 10 times.
Yeah, they should have known.
Yeah, they should have.
So anyway, then we jump back to 1864 when Stefan, he's going back to visit his father, Giuseppe, and he's standing outside the window and overhears his father, like, rewriting history basically to say that Damon and Stefan died. as like war heroes, like in that battle.
Yeah, they were civilian deaths.
Yeah. Which I didn't even realize at this point that he thinks they're dead. Like, he didn't realize that they came back. So, that's what you get from that moment. Is Stefan sort of is just overhearing that. And it's obviously like, Stefan, what are you doing there? You can't be there.
It's too emotional. It's
not a good
bad
call.
idea. Yeah.
Meanwhile, modern day, Elena is still trying to get Stefan out of his little slump, trying to get him to drink something. And he, like, threatens her, like, I could be at those bars in 2 seconds. But she calls his bluff, and she opens the door. She goes inside. And she's just like not backing down, and he even comes up and like throws the bottle and it's like yelling in her face.
Yeah, he slaps it out of her hand, is like yelling at her in her face.
Yeah, like the last one, he's trying to scare her.
Yeah, this is what I was sort of getting at earlier. She is truly relentless. She has absolutely no reason to trust him like this. Yeah. Especially after seeing him with Amber, after he pinned her up against the wall at the end of the last episode. Yeah. She is truly like a blind lover, like a blind faith, like
I mean, that really does describe Elena as a character. Like, that's what we're told about her over and over again, that Elena is like, you know, blind trust, blind love. Yes, like, she really does just do those things. I don't know, not effortlessly, but like without unconditionally, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much.
And like you said, like, she knows Stefan, but like she's never known this Stefan.
No.
So she really doesn't know what she's getting into, and it is kind of crazy that after just a few months of being together, she's like, I'm willing to risk it all. I trust you. Yeah. Back to Damon, Alaric, and Henry. They're still at the house chit-chatting. Henry is talking about his best friend, his BFF, the best, nicest guy he's ever met. Yep. Uncle John Gilbert.
Oh my God. And of course, Damon's just playing along. He's like, yeah, John's a good friend of mine too.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. And Henry tells him all about how John is helping him with Match.com, figuring out what a microwave is. Yeah. Just all these things. It's funny.
But it's obvious that John is just using him as a spy. Because he mentions, like, oh, yeah, like, those other tomb vamps are so mad, but not me. But John likes to know about those guys for some reason. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Henry, buddy, come on.
Come on. You're just being used as a pawn.
Yeah, clearly. Which they're also going to use him. They ask if he knows anything about a woman named Isabel. And of course, Henry has no idea. And while they're asking, Henry gets a call from his BFF, John Gilbert. And Damon asks him if he can have the phone so he can answer and talk to John. And then Damon does like I'm going to answer it. Am I going to answer it? And looks at Alaric. And Alaric is just like shaking his head. For those of you not watching, he shakes his head. And then obviously Henry realizes something's up. Push comes to shove, Alaric stakes Henry.
He starts to go after Alaric, he's human. And he just stakes him, and that's the end of Henry. Poor guy.
Poor guy. I liked him too, but
you know, he's so happy. That's why the happy, like, nice, trusting ones never last.
They never last.
So back to the devil himself, John Gilbert, who's on his little weird date thing with Pearl. They're still at the girl. He is laying it on thick.
Oh my God.
So annoying. And he's like making up this story about how John Gilbert the older John Gilbert, 1864 John Gilbert, was in love with her until his dying breath, and he wrote about her in his journal, how she was the one great love of his life. And then he just starts laughing at her.
No, it's so bad. I hate the scene of John. He's telling her, like, you know, his one regret that he didn't get to be with you, all these things. And
evil.
The thing that really pisses me off about it is it doesn't even really seem like Pearl believes it.
She seems sort of like remorseful if it's true, but she also isn't really accepting of it. Like, she doesn't want to hear it, is kind of the vibe I'm getting. It's just kind of like, why are you telling me this? Yeah.
Also, I'm sure John isn't thinking about it in this way, or maybe he is because he's a psychopath. But we have to remember, Pearl was desiccated for all of the past 145 years. Yeah. So that would be really fresh to her. Yeah. It would basically be as if 1864 John just died.
Yeah, she probably spent those 145 years just thinking about it. Yeah. That's all she had to think about. So it's like, it is probably pretty fresh, and it's cruel of him to wield it in this way.
Yeah, he's terrible.
He doesn't even use it to wield anything. He just starts laughing at her. And he's like, you vampires are so sentimental, which I'm like, no, John, it's just because you are unfeeling and a bad person.
You are literally dead inside, John. More dead inside than a vampire. So literally. Maybe you should introspect.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with her being a vampire. It has everything to do with you being soulless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Pearl does, again, like Elena, she gives him a little clap back, and she's like, well, I gave the invention to Damon, so good luck.
Yeah, screw you.
Yeah.
Pearl really gets the last laugh, and she gets to just walk out of there. Well,
in this moment she does. In this moment she does.
Poor Pearl.
I know. I did really like Pearl, too.
I know. I do wish we got more of her, but...
Yeah.
That's it for this scene for Pearl. Then we get to Elena and Stefan, and they start talking about like how he transitioned, and like he's giving her more info and about like the choice that he made, and they're moving along in this story finally. Like he's actually talking to her, which is a step up from where we've been.
Yes, and in the flashback, which I assume is exactly what he's telling Elena, we see that, you know, he went to confront Giuseppe and meant like say, you know, you were still so ashamed of me, even in death, and all these things. And it kills me. Giuseppe basically says, yeah, you're right, and I'm the one who had you shot. Like, I literally pulled the trigger myself.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, I always seem to forget. Like, I remember Stefan's sequence of events that happens next, but I always forget that Giuseppe is the one that shot.
Yeah.
I assume both Stefan and Damon.
Yeah, I was watching for it this time because I did remember it, and they do show just this silhouetted man shoots both of them, and like it's him, and it's so disappointing. He's the worst person alive. Maybe with John Gilbert, I don't know. Actually, he's definitely worse.
It's close. Yeah, tied for worst father of the year.
I mean, John at least cares about Elena though. Like he
That's
does.
True.
He does a lot of things selfishly and with like really bad. I don't know, like he goes about things in a really bad way, but at the end of the day, he cares a lot about her and saving her.
He does.
And even though she's involved with vampires, he's still gonna save her. But Giuseppe is like, the second he knows his sons have anything to do with the vampire, he's like, you're dead
I'll
to me.
shoot them.
Yeah.
So drama. Like, I was also thinking about that. I was like, it is so wild that really all they did was try to free Catherine. Like,
yeah, it
didn't even really work. And it probably, like, they could have also stopped it without shooting them. Like,
could have shot, like, near them,
also
at the leg, at the foot, like...
Stefan is also 17. Yeah. You're literally shooting your 17-year-old son because he's trying to help the woman he loves.
Yeah. It's really, it shows a lot about him.
Yeah.
And then also in this moment, too, that, like, he realizes, obviously, Stefan's in transition. Even though Stefan says, I'm gonna let myself die, like, at this point now he's decided. He just seems to want to say goodbye to his dad.
Yeah.
But Giuseppe obviously does not buy it, and he starts attacking Stefan, who does not know his own strength.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that a vampire is stronger, at least that he would be. And he accidentally, like, he pushes him off, but he throws him against the wall.
Yeah.
Like, breaks wood. Giuseppe starts bleeding everywhere. And this is the death that a man like Giuseppe Salvatore deserves.
Yes.
Because he's so awful, and this is an awful death.
Oh my God.
It's literally
it's pretty terrible. Yeah. First of all, he, like, basically self-impales as he's falling up against the wall, and then Stefan comes up to him and like tastes his blood, and the whole time the sounds Giuseppe was making were killing me. He's like, disgusting, just making all these terrible sounds.
Well, it's like he's getting like, he's being killed by the one thing that he truly hates, vampire. And it also is his son, which is another thing that he probably hated too. Like,
I mean, it's kind of weird.
It's like, it's an intense irony that he's killed by like a vampire, and that he is the blood that turns his own son into a vampire. It's like,
karma
is not his boyfriend. It's really not good for Giuseppe. He literally... he deserves it.
He really does.
It's a really bad way to die.
Yeah, not great.
And not a great look for Stefan. You see why modern Stefan is really in his feels and is really feeling very guilty.
Yeah.
It's really bad. And he obviously doesn't intend to do it. He's just so drawn by the blood that, like, as soon as he sees it and smells it, he can't stop. It's just over. And, we cut back to modern Stefan, and he's struggling to continue the story after this point, because obviously this is terrible to have to, like, admit out loud. But Elena's saying, like, we need to talk about this. I need to know these things. We need to just, like, get it out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge you. I love you, yada, yada. But she kind of gives him some space and says, like, come upstairs. Let's keep talking. Like, we don't need to do this in the cellar. And she gives him back his daylight ring and lets him decide. She kind of goes up before him and lets him, come up on his own time so that they can talk through the rest of this and, move along.
Yes.
We'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, Damon and Alaric have searched through Henry's whole apartment, and I love Damon gets himself a glass of blood, and he finds one like bottle of beer and gives it to Alaric. Yep. This is their first proper drinking buddy time.
Yeah, they also actually talk. Like Alaric in this conversation / little like drink and chat.
Yeah,
is talking about Isabel pretty openly, and he's saying I can't keep wasting my life. Like, I've spent way too long looking for her. And Damon says, after only 2 years, that's so healthy.
Yeah, he's like, I was planning to go 200 more.
Yeah.
It's a really nice moment, and they are laughing at those jokes together. Like, they're actually genuinely enjoying their time together, which is so sweet. And I love, too, that, again, it is this thing that they have in common that, like, Alaric's been looking for the same woman for 2 years and Damon for 142.
Yeah.
So it's really nice that they get to have, like, a little sip and chat. It's a cute friendship moment. The friendship is sealed now.
It definitely is, yeah. It does toe a line. Alaric does say, we can't keep talking about it, but...
Yeah, because Damon starts talking about all the fun of killing your wife.
Yeah, and how he was drawn to her and all these things.
Yeah,
so.
Alaric's like, okay, stop.
Yeah, but
overall, a bond has been built.
It's, the friendship is there. They are partners in crime.
And then another, relationship in this episode, back to Anna.
Yes.
She comes home to find Pearl packing and saying that they need to leave town. It's not safe. It's not right. They need to go, which this is what we've been saying for multiple episodes. Pearl, how are you just catching on?
Yeah.
But she's realized, obviously, of that conversation with John Gilbert, that this is a serious issue and they need to leave.
Yeah.
But Pearl does say, like, I won't force you. It is your decision, which I was surprised because we did talk about this in the last couple that, like, she's very much a mother figure and treats her like a 14-year-old, even though, she's hundreds of something years old.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised that she gave her that leeway. In fact, I also kind of thought, maybe she knows. Anna would not just choose to, and she doesn't. She chooses to go with Pearl.
Yeah.
I think, she knows Anna has spent 145 years waiting to get her out of the tomb. I think she knows.
Yeah, that she's going to choose her over Jeremy.
Yeah. And I think Pearl also knows Anna isn't clueless. Like, she also realizes it's unsafe, I think.
Yeah, so they're going to go. She does have to go say goodbye to Jeremy first. So
yeah, of course.
We'll see her again.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Damon gets home to find Elena sitting by the fire writing in her journal. And he immediately sits down on the couch, picks up her feet, and puts them on his lap, which I...
adore. Love.
If a man ever, like, I would die. I would fall in love instantly. I don't know. She's stronger than me because that literally.
Yeah, I would be like, Stefan who? Like,
immediately won over. Just like the intimacy and like domesticity of that act is just so cute and pure, and like I just really like that he does that.
It's so casual and natural too, like as if it's happened before. And
and there's a seat across the room. He did not have to sit there. He wanted to sit like, right next to her and like have her feet in his lap, and it's just really cute.
It is. I do love this scene.
So they have a nice little chat by the fire for a second, but then Elena starts really like kind of needling at him about
punishing Stefan.
And all of the stuff that's been going on with Stefan and how bad it's been, and Damon gets really upset at her because she does not know everything. Like, she does not know the full story. And
he asks her, did you even think to ask for the full story while you were talking to Stefan? And of course no. So he walks away, and Elena grabs him and says, tell me. So
we go back to 1864. We get to see Damon's side of things. It's night now. He's still at the quarry. He's still in transition. We've, of course, already seen Stefan transition. But it's been a full day. Like, it's night again. So it's been not necessarily 24 hours, but Damon is on the line. He is towing a dangerous line.
He's definitely close.
And he's definitely weak, too. Like, Stefan says that he's weak, but, like, when he gets up to try to walk away, like, he does not have even the strength to, like, get himself up. He's stumbling. And so, of course, coming in to take advantage of that, Stefan shows up. He brings a Troy and Belisario lookalike, who is definitely not her, but I always think it is because it looks just like her.
I can see it.
And he says it's a gift for Damon.
Yes.
Because, Stefan turned, and he wants Damon to turn to be with him. And Stefan clearly does not give Damon any choice. Like, he does not want Damon to die, and he holds him by the throat.
I noticed that.
And he bites the girl himself to get the blood flowing because, like, obviously that's what worked for him, was to smell the blood. And he literally pushes Damon towards the girl to, like, get him to drink. Which, again, he's weak. He literally cannot pull away from where Stefan is, like, pulling him. And I honestly had never really... I always knew this was the story.
Yes.
But in my head, it was kind of just like, oh, he put blood near him and Damon chose to drink it. But, like, actually really paying attention to it this time, I had never noticed how forceful Stefan is. Because even when Damon does start drinking from her neck, Stefan still had his hand on the back of Damon, pushing him towards the girl. Like, when they went to the wide shot. Like, you could see that the entire act of that scene, Stefan was forcibly pushing Damon, which, again, he was very weak. He, like, genuinely did not have a choice to pull away from the blood.
Yeah. Not only did he probably not have a choice because he was so weak and there was blood, and Stefan bit the girl open. Yeah, you can see his hand on the back of his neck, which I had not really ever noticed before.
Yeah. It really, again, like, you know these things. This is the story that Damon forced Stefan. But when you actually really start analyzing it and picking apart those details, you're like, oh, like, this isn't just like a, you know, you left a drink next to, like, an alcoholic and they drank it. Whoops. Like, no, like, he, like, put his lip to the glass. He, like, held the glass under his nose and was like, you want some? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It really was, like, a very forcible act.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And then it goes back to the present day where Damon is telling Elena, Stefan hasn't been the same since the transition.
Yeah.
And he's sort of saying, you know, that this is who he is. And it obviously changed them both.
Yeah, totally, completely. And Elena, I think, finally realizes she's got this last puzzle piece that she never knew she was missing. And you kind of see, like, she does start to understand Stefan in a different way now. And she tells Damon, like, don't pretend you don't care about him. Yes. Don't pretend that this doesn't matter. Like, clearly, Stefan means a lot to Damon, and he's putting up this exterior. Again, she said this every single scene this entire episode. But this is the one where she point blank says, don't pretend you don't care.
Yeah. And I think it means more now that she really does know the full story.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it kind of, I think it does honestly justify, like, Damon's anger at Stefan.
It does, absolutely.
Although he says something contrary to that later, we'll get into whether that's, like, entirely true or not. But, you know, that is a piece to it, I think.
I think it is.
That he forced him to do that. So Elena goes to check on Stefan because, you know, now she really knows what he's agonizing about, the thing he didn't admit. Because it's like, you know, he admitted all that terrible stuff about his father, but he did not admit the terrible stuff about Damon. Which clearly that's the thing he feels very guilty for. And she gets down to the cellar, and he's gone, and his ring is just left there on the little, like, bed. So clearly he has just run away.
Yes.
Meanwhile, lots of bouncing back and forth in this episode. Yeah. Cut to Jeremy is just taking a nap. He's fully dressed on the top of his blankets, but it's night out. I don't know, but teenager things, I guess. I don't know.
Whatever.
And Anna sneaks in through the window, and she tries to wake him up, but he kind of quickly falls back asleep. And so she gives him a whispered goodbye. Yeah. And a little, like, kiss on the cheek, and she just disappears. So it's like, clearly she has accepted that she's going to leave and she's going to, like, move on from Jeremy so that she can be with her mother. Yeah. Cut back to, Stefan has gone to the quarry where he and Damon had been in 1864 when they turned. He's really starting to, like, cut back and forth 1864. He still doesn't have a clue what's going on. Yeah, you can see in present day he's, like, fading in and out. He's very confused, delirious. And in 1864, Stefan is all excited. He and Damon have just transitioned. He's so happy he gets to be a vampire with his brother forever. Yes. And Damon has turned, but he says, you know, I promise you an eternity of misery. Yes. The vibes are not returned. The excitement is not returned. You got what you wanted, you and me, for all eternity. But hear this, brother, I will make it an eternity of misery. Yes. So he says. It's the promise that we've been hearing throughout the show, but we never really knew the background of when that promise was made or why. Yeah. And now we see. Yeah. He forced him into a life of an eternal life. Yeah, that he explicitly said he didn't want. Yeah. And that he just doesn't even have any reason for having this eternity. I mean, it might have been one thing if he and Stefan chose to do it together. I'm sure he would have loved to have an eternity with Stefan if they chose that. Yeah. But the game all along was to do this with Catherine, to have an eternity with Catherine. Yeah, and without her, he didn't want it. And Stefan didn't listen to him about that. Yeah. So Damon kind of leaves, and then Emily shows up, and she's really surprised to see that Stefan and Damon have turned into vampires. And she says to Stefan, you know, this is going to be a life of misery for you, because I can see that even in death, your heart is still pure. And for you, this is going to be a curse.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that she says all of that, because I do think that that's true, but how much of that is in part to the whole Ripper, he's addicted to blood thing, I don't really know, but...
Yeah, I sort of more think it's, first of all, that Emily would think that about it happening to anyone. She did say, I wouldn't wish Catherine's curse on anyone.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, I mean, she probably knew Stefan pretty well.
Yeah.
From just being around Catherine and around Stefan and Damon.
Yeah.
And so I think she probably knows it would hurt anyone to have to be a vampire and kill people, but Stefan will probably be especially tortured by having to kill people.
Yeah, I think that is what it is.
I don't think she could have.
She didn't
even
know
grasped
how many people he'd really be killing.
Yeah,
and this is pre-blood bag days. There's no alternative to
true.
Killing people. You just have to pretty much injure at least people and probably kill them.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, she basically kind of gives him that. And then modern Stefan is reeling. He's just freaking out. The
not
music
okay.
is drastic.
Yes.
And Elena finds him. She realizes where he wanted to go. And Stefan admits that he wants to die. And they're fighting about that, about, you know, he's miserable. He wants to die. Elena doesn't want him to die, obviously. No. And Elena reveals something that I think is interesting here. She decides to talk about herself with her parents.
Yes.
And mentions that the night that her parents died, she had ditched family night to go to a party, and she got stranded, so they had to come pick her up from that party, and that was the night that they got in the car crash. So she sort of clearly holds herself responsible for her parents' death.
Yes.
Elena says that, you know, our actions set things in motion, but they're not necessarily what make things happen, which I really like this background story that she gives for what happened with her parents. It's so painful, but it feels so real.
Yes.
And it gives her situation with her parents and their death, like, a little bit more intensity in a way that I really like, that fits into the story. And, of course, when we do get flashbacks of that, it gives you a whole nother appreciation for that whole situation.
Yeah.
But I just think that was a weird thing to bring up in this situation. I see where she was going with it, but I think comparing, like, what happened with her parents versus, like, what happened between Stefan and Damon is, like, not really the same. Like, I get that, like, if what he's feeling so guilty about is what Damon did, like the people Damon has killed, that's not Stefan's fault. Like, yes, Stefan forced Damon to turn, but that does not mean Stefan is guilty of whatever bad things Damon has done, which I think is the point she's trying to get to.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, but you still did the very bad thing of forcing him to turn.
Yeah, and Elena didn't really do anything bad. I think it's really just all to say, like, you know, everyone sort of has some sense of guilt about certain things and feels like things are their fault. I don't think, I mean, what is Elena going to say that's going to be analogous?
She's a 17-year-old girl.
Exactly. So I think, I don't know, I think it's just to say, you know, and this is pretty much what she says. It's like, we do things that will cause things to be bad, but you just have to live with that. Like, some things will be your fault, but you have to learn how to deal with that. And
and I do appreciate that sentiment, but I do wish she had somehow thought of some example of doing something bad to someone and having to forgive yourself for it. Which, of course, this Elena, as far as we know, really does not have a version of that. Like,
no, maybe getting Damon to compel Jeremy.
That could be. I don't think she's faced the consequences of that yet, because she doesn't know. Maybe Bonnie, like, forcing, you know, Grams and Bonnie to do that spell, and Grams dying.
That honestly would have been better. That's
more relevant. But the thing is, Elena still hasn't come to any sort of terms with that. Her and Bonnie are still in a bad place. Yeah. She's not full on that story yet.
Yeah.
But it's almost more, you know, like, the thing that Stefan did do something bad. It's not just Stefan did something that caused something that he's feeling bad about, which is what Elena's talking about.
Yeah.
But again, I do see where she's going, and I do think it works really well in this moment.
Yeah.
And it clearly does, like, struck a chord with him. Like, he does start to sort of, I don't know, understand her, and it kind of brings him down in a way. Well, I just thought it was a funny example.
Yeah. Well, I also think the really important part of the story and her sharing that, and that she feels like she has a role in that, is because she also uses that story to say, and don't forget, on that night, you saved me. Yes. Like, you've also done good in this world.
That's true.
I honestly think that's the more important part of the story than her saying we all feel guilty about things and have to live with it. I think it's more she needed to remind Stefan, like, he saved Elena's life. He has done good in this world. Like, you can't hold yourself responsible for Damon's actions. And even, I mean, he is responsible for a lot of bad things himself directly.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to live with those things. You can't change them. I think the important thing is you do good things too.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that is ultimately the point she's getting at, is that, you know, you saved this random car of people, which I suppose too, Elena is just equating her skipping family night as a bad thing. But
to be fair, she probably feels equally as guilty. Like, she probably feels terrible.
Yeah, that she skipped family night and made them be out. But, oh man, come on.
It's not comparable. It's not comparable.
Holding your brother's literal neck, forcing him to suck blood out of a girl so that he'll have to be a vampire for his entire life versus skipping family night. The scale here is different.
We know Elena is very compassionate. She's probably very guilty.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. But she's doing the best she can. It's pretty good, but it's just funny. When you really think about it, you're like, not comparable situations, but okay. I'll buy it.
We'll let it slide. She's too pure.
But she does a good job. And she does then end it by giving Stefan his ring back. She hands it to him. And she says, like, it's his choice. And he has to decide to keep fighting. And, you know, he does then pretty immediately. It takes him maybe 2 seconds. He does put the ring back on, and he does decide to keep fighting. And, you know, he comes up and they kiss, and they have a moment. Of course, you know. She did say what he needed to hear is really ultimately what it comes down to. Yeah.
I think the other thing that really helped that we didn't mention is that Elena also tells Stefan that Damon told her the rest of the story.
Yes, she does know everything.
She knows exactly what he's actually feeling guilty about. And I think the fact that she knew that, and that Elena was still willing to go to Stefan and say, again, sort of like with her and Damon, it's like, I see you, I understand you, and I still love and care about you. I think that really was enough and to give him also the choice. Yeah. In light of all of that, and say, I want you to keep fighting. I think that was big.
Yeah, I think it was. It's a huge moment for them relationship-wise, and really strengthens them for the next couple episodes, you know, and through season 2, honestly. That they got through this situation. This is as bad as it gets in season 1, and they'll be good for a while until season 3 comes around. But for now, they're good. Not
as good.
Harper and Pearl are packing up their things. They're talking about leaving. Harper reveals that he was a dying soldier that Pearl turned into a vampire, which I thought was really nice. We get that little note there that he's willing to stick with her because she saved his life.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Pearl goes outside, and they're starting to pack, and out of nowhere, a stake hits her right in the heart, and she just drops to the ground, and Harper's arm's dead. Just the veins are popping up. She's gray. Sad. It's like out of nowhere. You know?
Yeah, no, it's really out of nowhere. And it's not even like someone rings the doorbell or anything. Pearl is going to the door just to probably take things to the car, and just immediately staked.
Yeah, it's a cowardice way to kill someone, I feel.
Exactly. It definitely is.
Yes. Then back to Stelena, who has made it home, and Elena leaves Stefan so that he can talk to Damon. And Stefan thanks Damon for helping her save him and for everything that's going on. And Damon, you know, he kind of owns his actions and says that, like, Stefan does not need to feel guilty for all of the things he's done. Like, he has the power to feel guilty about them or not, you know? And then they kind of have, like, a weird standoffy conversation there, which then, of course, leads to the real standoff in the conversation, which is Damon admits he hates Stefan. He hated him then, and he kind of hates him now, and it's because of Catherine. It's because Catherine turned Stefan, and it was only supposed to be Damon.
Yeah. Ugh, that one really hurts. And also, it is really interesting because we talked about this in a previous episode and have talked about it before. We know that Damon probably wasn't really being compelled for all that much. Probably just to get rid of the initial fear when she was a vampire. It just really hurts to know that he was being led to believe that it was just going to be him and Catherine for eternity.
Yeah, and that he was so willing to buy into that. He wasn't compelled. He really just wanted that.
Yes.
It's devastating. And it's like, on the one side, it's not fair. That's not Stefan's fault. Those are Catherine's actions. It's bad to blame Stefan. But on the other, it's like, that's just human nature to, like, find someone to blame and to be resentful of him for the fact that she wanted him to. And it's just an unfortunate situation that, like, you know, is the theme of the Doppelganger almost, of ripping the brothers apart.
Yeah.
And Catherine did not ever once care what she
No.
did to them or their relationship. And that's honestly one of the biggest distinctions between Catherine and Elena, and in loving both of them. Elena always cared what her actions did to the two of them. When she does flip between brothers, she cares a lot about what happens to them, you know? And I think she does, like, she's very intentional about, I don't know how that goes. She can only do so much.
Yeah, but she at least cares, and the forethought is there.
Yeah.
And we do see her really try to figure it out and figure out if there is a delicate way to do it and what the best way to do it is.
Yeah.
But...
And sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
But she's always trying. Catherine, on the other hand, is always trying to actively hurt them.
Yes, exactly. She's pretty much intentionally ripping them apart.
Yeah. That's 100% her intention, is to pin them against each other.
Yeah.
Classic Catherine.
Yep.
So Damon leaves that conversation, and we see Anna get home, and it's devastating. She finds Harper and her mother both laying on the ground dead, and she's just sobbing, and it's so heartbreaking.
It's terrible.
Poor Anna.
I know. I really feel for Anna in this. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Anna because of the things that happen later on. But I do really like her at this stage.
I love season 1 Anna.
I do really love season 1 Anna. And this is... and I did really like Pearl, like I said before. And I loved Harper. Yeah. He was a sweetie.
Yeah, he is.
So, yeah, this one really hurts.
Especially because then right after that, we see immediately John Gilbert, Uncle John, packing up his vampire stakes in his car. Yep. And he calls up Liz Forbes to say, I have an update about the vampires.
Yeah.
So clearly John killed them. Again, Snake, which just makes it so much worse. Because it would have been one thing if, like, Alaric killed them. You'd kind of be like, that's weird, but I'm sure he has his reasons.
Yeah.
But seeing John Gilbert, who we hate, do it, it's like, clearly
now
we're not
hate
supposed to be happy about that. Yeah, like, that just makes the whole thing even worse.
Yeah.
So, devastating end for them. And then we get the real last little cliffhanger of the episode.
Yes.
Alaric is drinking at the bar alone, drowning his sorrows as usual. And we hear a little, hello, Rick. And who is it but Isabel. The whole next episode will be dedicated to her.
Yes.
It is literally called Isabel. That's going to be the whole thing. But they leave us with that little teaser. And also, she's beautiful.
She looks great. She looks really great. What a way to come back to your ex. To look my God, literally stunning. To be a vampire. You just have it all going on.
Yeah, she looks amazing. She's heartless.
She's completely soulless. But it's okay. She looks good.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time to spend on Isabel next episode.
Yes.
So this episode, to wrap things up.
Yeah, in this episode, a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
We have, I think I'm doing them in order. Well, in order in the episode, not chronologically. Yeah. First, we have Henry, who is killed by Alaric. Mm-hmm. And then we have Stefan and Damon, who are shot by Giuseppe.
Mm-hmm. And then turned into vampires.
And then turned into vampires, yes, obviously. And then we have Giuseppe, who is killed pretty much by Stefan.
Yeah.
It's in the altercation with Stefan.
Yeah, Stefan could have healed him, but instead he drank his blood.
It sucked him dry, probably.
Yeah.
And then Pearl and Harper are killed by John.
Yeah, those airsoft
the little dart gun probably things. Yeah,
not great. Lots of deaths.
Terrible.
Not a lot of out of pockets in my mind.
No.
It's a pretty serious episode in terms of, flashbacks, trauma, etc., etc.
No Caroline or the Lockwoods. So
very little of the teenagers, so there's not a lot of out of pocket.
Yeah.
My out of pocket, actually, I will preface this, I think Stefan killing his own father is too dramatic to be out of pocket. But just the way he sticks his fingers into his bleeding guts and then licks his fingers, that's out of pocket. He didn't need to do it like that.
That's pretty out of pocket. Yeah, I was going to go with John doing that whole thing to Pearl about John Gilbert, 1864, John Gilbert's regrets and how he loved her. And I thought that was pretty out of pocket.
That's a good one. Let's do that one because the killing the father is almost too bad, but just the way they sticking the fingers in the guts and then licking them was so
weird. A little fucked up, yeah.
But it's even worse than John Gilbert laughing at her, making fun of her Gilbert charm. John Gilbert will win out of pocket like every episode he's in. I think he's already won some.
Yes, absolutely. Hate him. But yeah, and then for best quote for this episode, I didn't have a ton of like really standout quotes, but I did really like the one quote I've already mentioned, which is when Damon says to Alaric, after only 2 years, that's so healthy.
Yeah. Always love. I actually went the opposite direction, but of course it was a Damon quote.
Of course.
But I did pick, I will make it an eternity of misery for you. I was like, that's just that's just a memorable one.
Yeah, let's do that one because that's also pretty much the theme of the show. At least season 1. That
Definitely
really sets things up.
I will make it an eternity of misery.
Yeah.
It's a dramatic line, but it works. It's very Damon in this episode.
Yeah. No, I like that one. We'll go with that.
Nice. Win for Damon. Always in the quotes section.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's won every one pretty much.
Now we got our song of the episodes. There's not a ton of songs. There's never a ton of songs in a flashback episode, so that makes it hard to choose. Most are with Anna and Jeremy or in the grill with John and Pearl.
Yeah.
I had an honorable mention and I had a winner, but I don't feel that strongly.
Okay.
So I don't know if I should go first. Do you feel strongly about your choices?
Definitely not. I only have one because, again, there weren't that many.
So let me say my honorable mention first then. My honorable mention was Marching On by One Republic.
Okay, yeah, that's a fun song.
I didn't, love it, but I do feel like they put a lot of One Republic songs in. It plays when Anna goes to the school to see Jeremy and tell her that she's going to start coming to school, and I just feel like it's a very season 1 Vampire Diaries vibe.
Yeah, so that's a good honorable mention.
Do you want to say your winner?
Sure.
I say my winner? We're never on the same page.
I don't know. I think with as few options as there are in this episode, we could be.
You never know.
My thought for winner was the Song for the Waiting by Aaron Wright. It plays over 2 scenes. It plays when Stefan is going to the quarry and the scene right before that, which I'm blanking
when
on.
Anna and Jeremy.
Anna and Jeremy. Yeah, every song is Anna and Jeremy. Yeah. And I like those moments. The song, I think, feels like the right vibe, so that was my only choice.
I picked the same one. We're
okay,
on the same page for
good.
Once. It was a good song. I've never noticed it really before.
No.
So I'm excited to pick it, and we're going to add it to our playlist. We have a playlist where we add the best song from every single episode, so I'm excited to go listen to it because I haven't really ever listened to it before. So you can find that playlist linked in our various bios and descriptions. You can also find our socials, Instagram and TikTok at the Rippah Diaries podcast linked there. We post lots of fun TikToks, memes, etc.
And you can listen to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and you can watch the video version on YouTube. We update new episodes every Thursday. So next week, join us on Thursday for season 1, episode 21, Isabel.
We're getting down to the wire here.
You already know what it's about. Isabel.
Yeah. Not much more needs to be said.
There's nothing else more to say. We'll get into a lot of it.
Oh, totally. So thanks for watching and or listening to this one. We'll see you next week. Bye.